Well, I didn't think I'd be talking about this series again so soon. It's been a while since I did an overview of my thoughts on the mainline Kirby games. And since then, I wanted to talk about some of the spin-offs that fester because I kinda miss doing this. But before I begin, let me discuss some of the ground rules since today will be a little bit different than the other times. First, I'm only gonna talk about 3 moderately big ones that got put on the 3DS. These 3 in particular, but if you want my thoughts on the other games, then this one's cool, and this one is cute out of 10. Secondly, I'm not gonna go over any sequels and stuff like that. With the exception of one of them, since I'm pretty sure it's the same across both the 3DS and Switch. Plus, I cannot for the life of me find the 3DS version, so we're working with what we got here. And thirdly, the tier list is back. Kirby Fighters is a video game where a bunch of Kirbys with different copy abilities go and fight each other, and for what it is, it's competent. I hear this game being compared to Smash Bros. A lot, and yeah, I can see it, but that feels a little bit shallow of a comparison. Kirby Fighters does have a handful of stuff that makes it stand out on its own. For starters, it's not exactly a platform fighter. Kinda. I mean, it has you know what I mean. It's not a platform fighter in the traditional sense. You have a health bar, and while there's technically combos you can do, it's much easier to just There's also a semblance of balance with all the abilities present, which I was afraid that it wouldn't do. You can get good damage with close-range melee abilities like Hammer, Whip, or Sword, while ranged abilities like Bomb, Cutter, or Archer keep you away from danger but do a little less damage than you'd probably hope. Still though, it's a simple, standard fighting game that's nice to play every now and then. I loved this game as a kid. It was my go-to time waster whenever I was in a car ride or something. And I still hold fond memories about it today. There isn't really much for you to tinker with, but what's here is nice. There's the single player, which is a standard classic mode where you just do a bunch of battles until you get to the final boss. There is multiplayer, which I haven't played since I don't know a single person who'd be willing to play goddamn Kirby Fighters with me. And then there's the weirdly titled training mode. You can pick what abilities you and your opponent start with, select handicaps, difficulties, as well as hazards. Pretty cool, although I feel like it's more of a versus mode than anything. You can control things like CPU behavior, no combos, no quick restarts, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Kirby Fighters Deluxe is a step up from the original. New stages, new final boss, spoilers I guess, new abilities, it's pretty good. But I do wish that there was a feasible online multiplayer. I know that the sequel Kirby Fighters 2 has it, but I'm not talking about that today. Just the 3DS version. But overall, Kirby Fighters and Kirby Fighters Deluxe are pretty solid games that are short and sweet. Although with that, there isn't really much more than what I described. What you see is what you get. Still though, I like it. C tier. Kirby RPG, but like, it's not good. So Team Kirby Clash is a sub-mode for Planet Robobot, and it's a pretty solid little sub-mode. You and 3 other Kirbys pick a role and then fight a boss to gain XP and get stronger. There's the Sword Hero, Hammer Lord, Dr. Healmore, and Beam Mage. It's the closest we've got to a Kirby RPG right now, and it's pretty cute. There's 6 bosses to go up against, with each next one getting increasingly more difficult. Sometimes you need to go back and grind some other bosses to level up a bit. This would normally turn me off, but considering that the max level is 10, and you level up pretty fast, it isn't really that bad. The fights aren't all super interesting though. They're just really tanky and have a lot of health you can't see for some reason. But it's a pretty novel thing to have. Now the expanded version, in my case Super Kirby Clash, I don't like this game. It's strange, because to the average person, it just looks like a more expanded version of the original. And on the surface, yeah, you can say that. But aside from other small issues I have, there's one big one that bothered me. Microtransactions. Now, in comparison to mobile games, for example, it isn't as insidious. Magalore doesn't go, "Hey Kirby, if you use 80 gem apples, you can get a 15% chance of winning the 5-star swimsuit Susie ult." It doesn't do that. But it's still not good. The currency for this game is gem apples, and every 12 hours you can get them from this tree in the hub world. You start out small, but you can permanently increase the amount you harvest over time. For $40. Gem apples are pretty much needed for everything in this damn game. Want to unlock new quests? It costs gem apples. Want to refill your vigor, which allows you to do those quests? It costs gem apples. You ran out of time and want to keep going? It costs gem apples. You want to buy gear? Well, guess what? Not only does it cost gem apples, it costs elemental fragments, which you need to do quests locked behind gem apples in order to gain. I swear, if I have to hear the words gem and apple in the same sentence one more time, I'm gonna run my tongue under a clothing iron. Also, I think the short short, sub-mode did not translate well into a full-on game. The general gameplay loop consists of lobby, do quest, finish quest, claim reward, buy gear, rinse and repeat. And it just grows on you, man. It gets even more draining when it feels the need to dismiss a pop-up whenever you do stuff like unlocking a new stage, doing an achievement, or even buying gear. It already puts the monotonous gameplay to a halt, making it longer, and I just don't like it. I think it's additionally worth mentioning that this game feels really grindy to play because of the gameplay loop. Now, sure, I could just cough up the $40 to make it easy on myself, but no. I used play coins, calm down. I'd rather pay money up front than be told that a game is technically free, but I progress at a slower rate. One could make the argument that it's a game that you should play in short bursts, and that it isn't really intended for long sessions. And if that's how you want to play, go ahead. You do you, boo. I'm not gonna stop you. But for me, that feels like a crappy workaround. I shouldn't be put at a disadvantage all because I don't want to spend money. Also, if I have to spend money to ease a stupid uphill battle with the gameplay loop and make it more manageable, I'd just rather not play the game at all at that point. I know that was a lot of negativity, but is there anything I like about this game? Sure. But a lot of the positives I have for this game can also apply to the original. Like, the quests are short and sweet. I like the idea of roles. They're just copy abilities that have different hats and can be upgraded. But if there was something that I can say that I can't say about the original sub-game, is that despite everything, this game is really fun when you play online. Somehow the servers were still at least somewhat active, and I would get people frequently joining really quick and find lobbies commonly. And it's a blast when you have competent people on your team rather than computers. Even if all beam mages collectively share the same brain cell. Yeah, that's me, hi. It just puts a smile on my face. Average beam mage gameplay is just firing the time beam at him, and then time freezes, so you could just actually, like, do damage. It's so funny. But yeah, other than that, this game sucks, bottom tier. Okay, so, hear me out. This is definitely one of the most interesting Kirby titles I've heard. This wasn't a side mode from another mainline Kirby game. This was a standalone title with even a physical release. And this game was released at a point where the Switch was well over a year old at the time, but still releasing on the 3DS anyway, which is definitely a strange but not particularly unfamiliar decision. Also, with a game titled Kirby Battle Royale, I feel like a lot of people would think it's, well, a Battle Royale game, when it couldn't be further from that. It's actually a minigame collection sort of thing. I went into the game fully knowing this, and admittedly, I expected to think it was bad. I actually really like it. As mentioned before, Kirby Battle Royale is more of a mini-game collection party game than what the name otherwise states. With something like this, I kinda expected them to be generic, but there's some pretty good ones here. Coin Clash has you competing for a bunch of money while avoiding these little ghost guys. Rocket Rumble has you and a bunch of other Kirbys race to see who can put the most fuel into their rockets. What's funny is that you can actually screw with other players in order to get the upper hand, which makes the generic-sounding ones funnier. I mean, sure, you can say that flag ball is just capture the flag mixed with soccer, if you can pick up the goal and carry it around, or if you can pick up the soccer ball and dunk it into the goal, or if you can just straight up assault your opponents. It's cool. And a minigame like slam hockey would make you think that it's just standard air hockey. I mean, sure, but you don't score points by shooting a puck into the slot, and you do it by throwing it at your opponents. I like this game. The actual story mode is alright, I suppose. You're basically in a tournament and you have to do these league battles that are just mini-games. And doing so will fill out this gauge. Filling it up will make you increase a rank, making you unlock tougher and different battles, while at the same time unlocking things like playable characters and more copy abilities. It's fine. Not amazing, just fairly inoffensive but slightly repetitive. The battle mode, however, is the highlight, since you get straight to the mini-games. You don't get all the games or abilities by default, so you gotta buy them with fake currency you get from playing the game. Which kinda blows, but it is really easy to get all of them. You can also do a showdown where you play all of them in a row. Whoever gets the most points by the end of the showdown is the winner. The previously mentioned slam hockey as well as attack riders are both so stupid it's hilarious. And the computers are actually kinda tough when you up their difficulty. Okay, so what's the catch? Do you have any issues with the game? Yes, it doesn't ruin the game for me or anything, since I still had a great time with it, but I'm gonna talk about the lack of minigames. It's really pitiful. With there only being 10, and considering that the story has you playing these 10 repeatedly, some multiple times before others are unlocked, it gets pretty annoying. Okay, but are the minigames more about quality over quantity? Yeah. Kind of. Some of these do feel a little similar, and if I explain some of the rules, I feel like you'd get what I mean. Apple Scramble is a game where two teams gotta grab apples that grow from wispy woods and take as many as they can to their own pens and pull the lever to gain points. Whoever gains the most points by the end is the winner. Ore Express is a team/free-for-all minigame where you gotta throw all these ores into these train cargo holds. Whoever gains the most points by the end is the winner. Rocket Rumble has you or a team of two throw a bunch of fuel into your own rocket. Whoever has the most fuel by the time the game ends is technically the winner. Do you see the issue here? Well, yes, this is less than half of them. I still think 3 out of 10 games being pretty similar is not great. And it's really frustrating because there are some other ones that are sick as hell. Okay, so there's this one called Robo-Bunkers that has you straight up fight a boss and the winner's determined by who did the most damage. This one called Crazy Theaters has you do a bunch of challenges while tasking you to prevent others from doing the same. There are some banger ideas here and I just really wish that there were more like it. But besides that, Kirby Battle Royale is a strange spin-off, but it was the most fun I had out of all 3 of these. Which is strange because I thought this was going to be one of the games that I'd like the least. It's nowhere near as good as games like Return to Dreamland or 64 The Crystal Shards, but it is well worthy of being at the top of C tier. Also, Sleep Kirby's Peak, fight me.